Good morning from Mount Cook, New Zealand, and today is van tour day.
Hey, we're Jeff and Bree. In June of 2022, we both quit our corporate software careers to travel the world as one-baggers to cross off the items on our bucket list that our PTO just wouldn't allow for, as well as some other cool stuff along the way while trying to remain as budget-friendly as possible.
This was $5
each.
So if you like shaky video footage coupled with Jeff, who is basically a human golden retriever,
That is the most ridiculous beer purchase I have ever done in my entire life.
and Bree, who is a real-life version of Wednesday Addams,
Oh, you okay?
then don't forget to subscribe and tag along.
So we're on the road again. Bree's behind the helm. I'm totally not nervous at all. We're not going too far today. There's another campsite just 20 minutes down the road. It's a paid campsite though, so we can take a much needed shower because I feel actually pretty gross after the 3-hour walk yesterday. Welcome to our new campsite. Welcome to our home for the next 16 days. First things first, this actually didn't come with the Jucy van. We went and bought this at a Bed Bath & Beyond, and I actually read this on a blog. Someone bought a mosquito net for a bed. It gives us just that little bit extra protection from the bugs. At our first two campsites, it actually wasn't that bad in terms of mosquitoes, but this one was absolutely covered.
No.
Don't look up, actually.
Oh my god, there are so many. Oh my gosh.
So this has been absolutely clutch. It's really hot. We want the door open for some airflow, and this has just given us that little extra protection so we can leave it open and cool off a little bit. So we're gonna start from the back and work our way forward. We've got two gas stove tops right underneath here where we do all of our cooking. You have to turn on the gas from the outside. Now this is different from our van in Iceland where we had like a little camp stove that we would just pop up, flip the propane on, and then ignite it. This one we have to turn the gas off and on from outside first and then ignite it from in here. Right here, this is our trash bag. Actually, one of the things I've started doing is kind of wedging it underneath this when we're in transit so it doesn't open up and spill trash everywhere. Plus, as we'll get into in a bit, although there's a lot of storage, there's not enough storage. We also have, I think this is a 40 liter or maybe an 80 liter fridge. And the door doesn't really stay shut all the way, but it's enough to carry some of our drinks. We've got some meats in there, and there is a nice little freezer up here. We also have a sink right here. This is great. This hooks up to our 70 liter freshwater tank, which is a ton. It also makes us very slow and gas hungry. So we've been trying to actually use it up a little bit to give us some better fuel efficiency to help save us money. Now this water actually does not work unless we have the water pump switch turned on. When it's off, we won't get water running. You'll also notice that there are some other switches for the fridge, for example, as well as accessories, which is basically just the car stereo as far as we can determine, and lights. Fancy. So we also have storage options. Now we have some stuff that's buttoned down, like these pouches on either side. On the left-hand side, we have bowls, plates, cups, and on the right-hand side, we have all of our silverware, cooking utensils, and we've utilized two of the free compartments for our food. So in the first one, we have all our bread, and then behind that, we put all our cleaning supplies. So this was actually a big surprise for us. In Iceland, the van company provided us with some dish soap and a sponge, but here we had nothing to clean our stuff with. Some of the campsites did come with like communal stuff, communal sponges and dish soap or scrubbers, but here we actually picked some up at the grocery store because we realized we didn't have any. So we have some dish soap, 2 sponges, and then we have some bug spray and sunscreen that we keep in there as well, along with trash bags because there are no trash bags in here. Now every campsite does have, for the most part that we've seen, some sort of waste disposal, a place where we can drop off our trash and recycling, and there are dump stations at some of them where you can empty the gray water which comes from the sink. On either side of me, we also have storage at the bottom, and in these hatches we have various things like our cooking pans. In the right hand side, we basically use it as a pantry, so we've got our granola, things that don't need to be refrigerated, like our chocolate bars or any other dry goods. So for the hatches down below, maybe if you've been sailing before, if you own a camper van of yourself, they obviously have some sort of self-locking mechanism so they don't just fly open when you're driving around. So all you have to do is push in on the little button, it unlocks, plus it gives you a little handle to open it and pull, and then you just push it when you're done. Last thing from the kitchen, whenever you are in a small confined space that you have to live in, like a camper van or a sailboat, I'd imagine, you have to get good at maximizing spaces. So whenever we are parked and we're not worried about things flying around, we basically put our stuff wherever we can and give us the most seating room. That means utilizing things like this shelf where we end up putting our toiletry kits, electronics, and various accessories. Because it is quite a deep shelf, it also helps when we're cooking. You can put some spices up here or maybe some packaged goods that you don't need at the moment so that you can maximize your very limited counter space. All right, coming forward out of the kitchen, you actually are greeted by 2 seats. So we got a 4-person camper van, or I should say that this camper van can take up to 4 people. That being said, based on our experience so far, I think you'd be pretty stretched to go above 2 or 3. I mean, sure, there's an extra bed up here that we'll show you in a minute, but it just doesn't feel like there's enough room unless you're actually spending most of your time outside of the van. One other thing to note is that when we extend this bed, that our feet actually end up in the seats of these 2 extra chairs, and they're a bit lower than the bed itself. So what we've ended up doing is taking these spare towels and using them to kind of raise the level to be even with our bed so our feet aren't hanging off at a weird angle. For power, now this is something that's very new for us. In our last van trip in Iceland, we did not use a powered campsite once, so now we actually have a powered hookup, and we're actually staying at quite a few campsites because we wanted to be able to charge our laptops while on the go. Now this van comes with 2 outlets, although we can only use one because our Kickerland travel adapter has these 2 little plastic prongs that stick out and block the other outlet. But so far we've only needed to use one anyway, so it hasn't been that much of an inconvenience. While we're driving along, these actually do nothing. They only work when we're plugged into a campsite, which is why we opted to go for powered campsites. The only things that'll work while we're driving are the USB ports back here in the kitchen. Okay, so we also have this weird little cushion block thing here, and we weren't really sure what its purpose was, but it goes in between these 2 seats when we make up the bed to give us some extra kind of bedding area. It's again higher than these seats, so we had to use the towels to bring them all up to the same level, which works okay-ish. And it's also kind of nice to wedge the fridge shut because it opens up when we're going around corners, which is pretty annoying. We also have 2 tables. One is right here. The other one is actually back attached to the kitchen, and you cannot use it unless you open up the back door and then it folds down. So it's just kind of tied up right now. And then if we ever wanted to open up the back and fold that down to eat dinner or something, we could, but we don't have camp chairs, even though we reserved them because they never included them. But credit to Jucy here. They did say that if we wanted to go buy some, they would cover them up to $20 max. This is our couch / bed. Eventually it turns into a bed. This just slides out, which is really nice. But during the day, we obviously make everything up so we have more sitting room so we can hang out. It does require us to rearrange things quite a bit, but that's okay. One thing that we have to rearrange is our little shoe area. We always keep it by this sliding door whenever we're in couch configuration. But when it's bedtime, since this whole thing slides out, we have to move them to the back of the van. Up above me, we have where the other 2 beds come into play. So if you are in fact going to do this with 4 people, 2 of you would sleep up here. There's a little blue thing right here that will pull out and actually rest on these ledges where we've been storing stuff, and then that'll make the second bed. There are these 2 little foothold clamps. They actually look just like the fold-out things that you saw in our Hanoi first class train video. It's actually a step for the person getting on the top bunk. That's what that is.
Ah, I just
The hook is right behind you.
I just touched that.
So you would step on that in order to climb up in there. One little tip, if you are coming here in winter or cooler times and you need to get warm, they say the upper bunk is warmer because it's heated from the sun all day. And in our experience, that's been true. When we pull down our bedding at night, we feel like that they've been put in a dryer just for us, and they're actually quite nice to get into because even though it's warm right now, it does get cold. And if you haven't noticed yet, we have clips hanging literally everywhere. And that's because space comes at a premium, and I cannot recommend this enough. If you are doing any sort of traveling, grab yourself some hero clips. They have been the biggest unsung hero of this trip by far. Airflow and windows. So not all these windows are created equally. They, for the most part, all open, which is really nice, especially to give us some cross breeze. However, we're keeping them closed right now, which really sucks because the breeze would be nice, but there are tons and tons of mosquitoes out here that we just don't want to deal with the bites. There are some up top and then some down on the main level. Some have a screen. Actually, just that one has a screen. The rest of them don't, hence the mosquito net, which is coming in clutch. And then at night, obviously, we don't want to be woken up by other people driving around with their headlights on or wearing their headlamps as they go try and find the facilities. So all of them come with these screens that we can unsnap, roll down, and then clip back in. That being said, these are not in the best condition, so a lot of the snaps are broken off. but you can still just kind of let it hang in front of it and it does the job. So up here, this is where we store our bedding during the day. Otherwise, obviously we're using it at night. And Jucy gave us the bedding and provided all the linens and stuff, which is why it is Barney purple and puke green. Not our choice. We also use this for luggage and stuff just to clean up the seats during the day because it's got this nice little net, and we're never gonna make this bed up because there's just 2 of us and we'd rather sleep down here. Oh, hey there. Welcome to the front of the van. So this is where we drive and navigate from. Obviously, whoever's navigating sits over here, driver sits over here because steering wheel's on the opposite side. There's not really too much to talk about up here, just that we actually use this to store all of our clothes, so we move all of our packing cubes into these 2 seats so that we can still easily access them while we're sitting on the couch, but they don't take up valuable sitting real estate. One thing you'll also notice is that our towels are hanging up here. This is a pro tip. Something that Bree has done since Iceland is whenever we use our towels in the facilities, we come back here, we wedge them under the visor and we let them hang. When the sun comes in through the front of the van, it keeps them nice and dry and smell free, and it's a great way to save space as well as provide privacy.
It's pronounced privacy.
This is a great way to create airflow between the front and the back, and it's also an awesome way to give yourself a little more room while you're cleaning or provide yourself with a view. The table that I was talking about earlier, it's right here. You want to do this little latch, just pull it down. If we had camp chairs, you could set up right here and have an awesome little sunset dinner. So all the powered campsites look like this. We've got a cable that comes with the van, so we can just plug right in, and then our intake is on the other side. So we just run it across the van if we're on the opposite side, and we're good to go. They also all come with these water spigots, so we can fill up our freshwater tank if we want to. We also have a freshwater hose in there underneath the bed, as well as a dustpan actually, so we can clean up all the stuff that we drag in. So if it's not clear yet, we ended up booking our van through Jucy Campers. Now, I've seen ads for them all over. The bright colored vans probably have made an appearance in your Google search. And you know, honestly, there's just so many companies out there, it's really hard to make an informed decision. So I will just tell you anecdotally our experience so far. The vans have been used, obviously, that should be no surprise, which isn't a big deal. Everything's been for the most part fine. However, we did meet someone at our first campsite. He pulled in around the same time as us, but someone was in his spot, so we got to talking with him. And the entire back bumper of his van just randomly fell off while he was driving. And he called the office and no one was able to pick up. So they just put it basically in their trunk and then tried to drive back to the office, but then their van wouldn't start. So they got a jump from someone, started driving it back, and then whenever they stopped at like a red light or something, the van would die again. So they basically had to keep driving in circles rather than stop at stoplights in order to make it back. He said it took them a couple hours and it was a very frustrating experience, and then they just replaced the car for him. So they were able to just replace it, but that must have been a very frustrating couple of hours for him. Just something to be aware of. That being said, you know, we obviously had some problems with our camping chairs not being here when we did book them ahead of time. And yes, we will pick some up, but that means we're not getting them for like the first 3, 4, maybe 5 days of our trip, which is a bit of a bummer, but it's no problem. They're going to refund them. They did respond fairly quickly, and we had some questions about why the fan won't shut off. It's solar powered, by the way, and how we could maybe turn on a heater, which these vans do not come with. So you can pick one up. I think they said they would refund it for us if we did at a max of about 30 bucks, which was nice of them to address the question, then provide a solution, as well as reply quickly. Just make sure you do your research. There are so many companies out there. I'm sure all have their pros and cons, and I'm sure all have some sort of issues with them that people have run into, and I'm sure others go through and have zero experience. We're happy with ours. It was a good price point for us. There are some much nicer ones parked around us, but I'm sure they paid a very, very high premium, which we weren't willing to do.
So as Jeff explained earlier, we are staying at a powered campsite tonight, but because we are going to make some curry for dinner, we're actually going to cook it in the communal kitchen. So I thought we'd go down and check out the facilities. Full disclosure, I went to the bathroom earlier before we really checked out the entire... Full disclosure, I used the restroom when we arrived, and it was probably one of the grossest bathrooms I've ever been in my life. It was literally covered from ceiling to floor with a bunch of mosquitoes, like thousands of mosquitoes, both dead and alive, to the point that they had like this huge squeegee in there that I assume that they used to clean all the dead ones off the floor when the cleaning crew arrived. So just to be completely unbiased, maybe I came on an off day, I'm going to show you the other bathrooms. By the way, the campsite we're staying at does have some pretty awesome views. From our van alone, we can see beautiful mountainside as well as a lake. Jeff, what was the lake called?
Lake Pukaki, with a P, ladies and gentlemen. And finally, for what everyone really wants to see, the bathrooms. So we've got 3 showers on the right, 3 flush toilets on the left, which is really nice to not drop. The water was also very warm, which was very nice. We have 4 sinks over here where you can brush your teeth, etc. Hot and cold water, as well as hand soap. And back here is the urinal trough. Now, this isn't as bad as Bree's bathroom, and these are also the older ones. The guy at the front said that the other ones are newer, and those were the ones that we saw that were absolutely covered. But maybe you can see all these mosquitoes. Now again, there aren't like 1,000, but there are, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 in here. But the other one, I'm serious, it was like a wall of black. It was insane. It was the most intense bathroom I've ever seen.
And in case you hadn't guessed, this is the communal kitchen. A lot of the campsites also have like a water hose that you can use to fill up your tanks or your water bottles if you just want to pop into a campsite. Usually they're pretty good about allowing you to do it.
So we just finished dinner and doing the dishes and hanging out for a little bit, and now it's time to get ready for bed. So we're going to show you how to bring out the bed. So we're going to show you how we set up the bed every night. Get this kid out of here. I guess I should have said that Jeff's gonna be doing the bed. It's the only thing he does around here.
Victory?
Oh my god, it's gonna break. It is literally leaning
Where?
in the middle. How'd you get up?
I used my lower body and upper body strength in unison. Here, I'll boost you. Oh, this is all camera. Wow. Peak evolution right here. That's how it's done. Normally it goes a bit smoother than that, but we all do our best. I hope you really enjoyed this van tour, and I hope that this helped inform your decision if you're ever coming to New Zealand and renting a camper van.
And please don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.